Well, howdy from Vegas. It's rodeo day, final day of the PBR bull riding, heading off with a bunch of buddies to go watch. And today it was an interesting conversation with my kids and their friends actually at rodeo last night that led me to a thought of today's drive time subject being, how is it we define ourselves? The two most powerful words in the English language when put together, tiny words, are these two words, I am. I am. How you define you is a major part of where you end up in life. If, when you meet a business person and you say, well, what is it you do? They say, well, I am a plumber. They're not, I am an owner of a plumbing business. They're, I am a plumber. How we use the things we say about ourselves to ourselves when we're by ourselves are the things that matter most, obviously. But when we sit down and we start thinking of how you define yourself, a lot of the times the problem with it is no one's actually been proactive in their definition of self, meaning that the only way they've defined themselves is reactively. They haven't sat down and chose, who do I want to be, so I can do and have more. You know that formula from me, be times do equals have. So the words I am really define your identity, how you identify yourself. What is your identity? It's often been said that the reason the first million is the hardest is because you don't know what you're doing. The reason your first business is the hardest is it's your first business. You haven't done it before. And so the challenge is with your identity, until you identify as a millionaire mentally, in your heart and in your head, until you have that identity of yourself, it's very difficult to see yourself in that manner, to believe that that's going to happen for you. Self-belief is obviously very important in all success matters, but even more so when it comes to identity. So if you start thinking about, how do I want to define myself? And I have a simple process for this I'd like to outline for you. It's very simple steps. First thing you do is you take a look at the categories in your life that are important. Sorry, I just got to get off here. Heading down to T-Mobile Arena, which is the new arena here in Vegas. I love having a suite down there, all the events that we get to go to. All right, let's get back to the process. First part of the process is looking at the areas of your life that are important, the categories of importance, I guess you could call it. The things like maybe it's family, business, community, education, fitness and health. These are sort of the categories. So take some time to document what are the most important categories in life for you. This is the overarching big categories in your life. And when you sit down and you start thinking about the big categories, really what you're looking at is the areas of life that are important. Now, I want you to look at it and say, okay, once you've completed that list, is there an area I've forgotten? Sometimes we forget things like fitness and health, or, sometimes we forget things like financial independence or wealth building or investing or that sort of stuff. For me, when I first did this activity way back when, the one I had to actually add into it was good times, because I forgot to have a category in my life that was anything other than work. And now I've learned to have it the other way. Being Australian, I guess enjoying life is a big part of what we're looking to achieve. So that being said, once you got the categories down, then I want you to think about what are the roles within that. For instance, like if you had family, you might have a role of being a son. Like for me, I have a role of being a son. I have a brother, dad, a husband. These are sort of some of the things that you have to think about. What is the role? Once you've made a list of the roles in each category, so you might have roles within business, it might be a salesperson, marketer, CEO, all sorts of different roles within business. If you look at building your life that way, and you're proactive in building a life, you're not reactive in hoping you have a good life, you actually sit down and you proactively say, how do I build a great life for me? And that's really an activity. I've been doing this for many years. Every year I sit down and relook at it and say, okay, what works, what doesn't for me right now, where is it working? Because from those roles, then you create I am statements. So what an I am statement is something that I repeat to myself. It's a simple thing that I look at every day and remind myself of who it is I want to be, who it is that I need to be in order to do, in order to have. Most people don't proactively build themselves. They actually just reactively become whoever they end up being shaped by the people around them. And yeah, absolutely, you got to surround yourself with good mentors or a good group of people or a good mastermind group, as the old saying from the books go. But if I'm to look at developing an I am statement, like let's say for me as a dad, now I have 5 kids, so I have 5 different I am statements because each kid requires a different dad. Or for me as a husband, or for me as a moneymaker or a businessman, for me as a salesperson, each role I have is different, and so therefore I communicate differently who I need to be. So my leadership role within all my companies and so on. So each role you want to write an I am statement, something along the lines of, like if it's leadership, it might be, I'm a phenomenal leader. I take action and make decisions quickly. I'm the type of leader that people want to admire and respect. I inspire my team to do this. So you make a good statement about you as a leader. And that way you're repeating it to yourself. The brain accepts what it's last been told, and so you start building it. Now, in the beginning of this, your brain might hear you say things like, if it's wealth building and you got an I am statement that is, I am rich, and your brain, there might be a little voice in the back of it going, yeah, bullshit. Have you seen your credit card bills this month? So you may need to add in these great words. Thanks, Mike Lozier, for teaching me this one. The words are, I am in the process of becoming. So, I'm in the process of becoming rich. I'm in the process of building wealth for myself and my family. I am. So you're giving yourself positive I am statements all day, every day, or as often as possible. I like to look at them twice a day, every day, read them with some passion, excitement. In fact, I record them, and when I go running each day, I have them play back in my headset. So between songs while you're running, it gives me a good I am statement to remind myself of that. So these I am statements, you build your categories, you define the roles. From your roles, you develop them into I am statements. And then for each role, you should set a goal too. That's a whole other process that we can talk about. But simply put, you get to proactively define you if you want to. You don't have to reactively be who you are. You can actually sit down and say, who do I need to be in order to have, as we've discussed on previous drive times. And you can actually sit there and define who it is I am becoming. Now, here's the reason you really want to do this. If you don't do this, if you don't define yourself as where you need to be and who you want to be, you keep coming back to where you're at. You keep falling back to the current position. In fact, I've seen many people who've succeeded and then they haven't improved their I am. They haven't built their identity, so they couldn't relate to this new person or this new success level. And what they do is they go into self-sabotage. They actually cut back the amount of money they're making, or they cut back all of the success they're having because they don't relate to this new identity. Keep building your identity. Keep working on your identity. Keep building you. The more you build you, the more the world works better for you. As you get better, life gets easier, as Mr. Rowan once said. So, anyway, off to the rodeo, off to have some fun. As they say, work hard, but learn harder. Tomorrow I got meetings with the best negotiator in the world, Mr. Chris Voss. So maybe I'll get him on drive time, or I'll do a master mentors with Mr. Voss, the author of that great book, Never Split the Difference. If you haven't read it, go read that book. If you haven't read all my books, also go read all those. The Wealth Coach is out there. Get it for your kids. Get it for your family. Make sure they're all learning about wealth. And I was reminded yesterday, Billionaire in Training's changed a lot of people's lives too. It's been around a long while, but enjoy that book. Hey, have a great day. Enjoy Sunday. And last but not least, hey, thanks to all the veterans out there. It's a great time of year for us to remind ourselves of what's important. And I got some great friends that are veterans. I'm going to hang with a couple of them right now down at the rodeo. And I just want to say thank you to all the military serving and keeping the peace out there in the world. Take care. Have a great day, everyone. Bye for now.